welcome back to my channel, Pages and Screens, and in today's video I have an original tag for you guys based around the new hit musical Dear Evan Hansen. So for those of you who don't know what Dear Evan Hansen is, it is a musical centering around a socially awkward teenage boy who gets caught up in a series of lies surrounding the suicide of a classmate. And it focuses on obviously a lot of serious themes like social anxiety, mental illness and suicide. Dear Evan Hansen has been so successful, I think, because how rooted it is in real life issues, and it's a really important story that is so relevant to today, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful musical. And if you haven't listened to the soundtrack, I really would suggest you do, especially if you're a fan of musicals, because this one is definitely successful for a reason. So without any further ado, let's just jump into the video. I've got a couple of questions based around songs from the soundtrack. All these songs are so amazing and I'm really excited to start this tag, so let's just jump straight into the video.
Does anybody maybe happen to know how the hell to do this?
So for the first song on the soundtrack, Anybody Have a Map, I decided to put with a book that initially was confusing and hard to get into, but once you give it a bit of time, it was worth the read. So for this, I have chosen The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This book is initially quite hard to get your head around because of the formatting of it and also the way that the characters speak. It took me a good 100 pages or so to get my head around the use of language in this book, but once you kind of have read 100 pages or so, you really start to get into the story and start to understand the world a bit more, and it is so worth it. It is one of my favourite series that I've ever read, and it is so good, and I would recommend it to anyone who has not already read this.
On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window.
So the question that goes with my favourite song on the soundtrack, Waving Through a Window, is a book that completely sucked you out of reality and drew you in. I had to go with my favourite series of all time, which I read for the first time last year, and that is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I love this series so much, and I binged like all 6 books from it, including the 2 novellas, like last summer in the course of a week, and that is a lot of pages to get through in a week because this series is quite long. I mean, the last book is like 820 pages and I read that in 16 hours. I could not put this series down.
We walk a while and talk about the things we'll do when we get out of school. Like the Appalachian Trail, or write a book, or learn to sail.
So for the next song on the soundtrack, For Forever, I have gone with a book that is deeply rooted in friendships and focuses on the relationships between characters. Now, for some weird reason, every time I listen to this song, I automatically think of Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. I don't know why, but this book really reminds me of the song, and they almost work really well together. Like, For Forever could easily be like the theme song for this book because it talks about like going to an orchard and getting ice cream and going down country lanes, and it's so reminiscent of this book to me for some reason. This book focuses on the relationship between Emily and her best friend Sloane as she discovers that Sloane has gone missing one summer and she doesn't know what happened. And all that's been left behind is a list of 13 things that Sloane wants Emily to do over the course of the summer. This is such a fun read, and if you haven't read it and you're looking for a contemporary summer read that's really fluffy and really cute and has romance and friendship and adventure, I would highly recommend this book because it was one of my favourite summer reads that I read last year.
Cause all that it takes is a little reinvention. It's easy to change if you give it your attention.
For the next song, Sincerely Me, I've gone with a book or series that inspired you to better yourself. Now, I don't actually have the physical copy of this book with me because I'm in the process of like moving house, and I have the physical copy, but it's packed away somewhere. And that is Flipped by Wendelin van Draanen. Flipped is kind of an underrated book. I don't think a lot of people will have heard of it, but I discovered it through watching the movie actually, and realised that it was a book, so then bought the book. The movie is probably one of the best book to movie adaptations I've ever watched because it was literally a mirror of the book, and the plot didn't change at all, the characters didn't change at all. It was actually perfect. I would recommend it if you want like quite a quick film to watch because it's only like an hour and a half. The main character in that, Julie, is so kind and caring, and she like, I don't know how you could watch that movie and not be inspired by things that she does in it. She has such a kind heart and she's such a pure character.
a heavy heart? Why should I start to break in pieces? Why should I go and fall apart for you?
So the question that goes with Requiem is a character's death that other people were affected by, but you did not feel any sympathy or remorse towards. For this, I've had to go with Prim's death from The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I did not care for Prim's character one teeny tiny bit. She infuriated me and annoyed me constantly throughout this series. Like, she was the most irritating character ever. Like, she nearly killed herself and Katniss in Mockingjay when she decided to go back for her bloody cat, Buttercup, as District 13 was getting bombed. Like, where's the logic in that? She annoyed me so much. And when she died, like, we didn't even see her die anyway. We, like, heard about it, like, a few hours after or a few days after. And then, like, I couldn't care less, honestly. That might be controversial and it might offend some of you, but Prim was the most irritating person I have ever read about, and I could not care less when she died.
But he kept it all inside his head. What he saw, he left unsaid. And though he wanted to, he couldn't talk.
So another one of my favourite songs from the soundtrack, If I Could Tell Her, I've decided to go with a slow burn relationship that was so infuriating to read about, and I have gone with none other than Anna and Etienne from Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. This again is one of my favourite books, and Anna and Etienne are probably one of my OTPs of all time. I love them so much, which makes it even more infuriating that they literally get together in the last 30 pages of the book. Like, honestly, what were they thinking? They were in love with each other from day one. And it was so annoying that, Etienne goes out with Ellie, who I fucking hate, by the way. I hate Ellie so much. And then Anna's got, Toff. Who could care less about Toff? He was so irrelevant, but she, was clinging on to the hope that she would go out with him, when it clearly was not going to happen because you're in love with Etienne. Oh my god, I get so riled reading this book. Especially, when they, have Thanksgiving together and they're, acting like a married couple. I just love them so much. I go into more detail about my feelings on Anna and Etienne in a blog post that I wrote, last year. I'll link it down below if any of you want to check that out, just so I don't go on a massive rant during this video about these two. But this slow burn was so painful to read because it's a romance book. I'm just waiting for them to get together. I'm waiting for them to be in a relationship. And they just spend so much time not being together that it's just so freaking irritating.
You will be found, so let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around. You will be found.
The last song I have chosen is You'll Be Found, and for this I've gone with a book or series that deserves more recognition than it has. Now, I realise that I don't read a lot of underrated books or unknown books. I tend to read the more popular series. But I recently read The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, and this book was so good. I have heard about it online and I've seen a couple of people read it, but I think it deserves more recognition than it has currently. This was such a gorgeous, gorgeous story, and it was so beautifully written, and the characters were so poignant to read about as well, and I think it deserves more recognition than it has. If you enjoy magical realism, I'd recommend you read this book. I would say that there are trigger warnings for rape and abuse as well in this book, so just be mindful of that before going into reading it, but I would recommend you read this book, and I think it definitely deserves more recognition than it has currently. So that was it for my Dear Evan Hansen book tag. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've had quite a lot of fun making it, so if you want to see any more musical related book tags, just leave a comment down below suggesting any musicals you'd want to see converted into a tag. I'd be happy to do them. I'm thinking maybe we could make this into a monthly series. That might be quite fun because I'm a huge lover of musicals. I'm such a musical nerd. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!